เอาลงมาเราลงมาอุ้ยซูมดูเนี่ยนั่น
ใครเอากล้องลงมาดูใคร
อุ้ยคือคนเลย
คนเลย
โอ้ยแม่
จริงนะน่ะใครมองไม่เห็นน่ะน่ะแม่
อันนั้นก็ได้นะคะ
โรงพยาบาลเฮ้ยนี่ไง
กี่ฟองให้ขอทาย
นิ่ง
เอาลงมาเราลงมาอุ้ยซูมดูเนี่ยนั่น
ใครเอากล้องลงมาดูใคร
อุ้ยคือคนเลย
คนเลย
โอ้ยแม่
จริงนะน่ะใครมองไม่เห็นน่ะน่ะแม่
อันนั้นก็ได้นะคะ
โรงพยาบาลนี่ไง
กี่ฟองให้ขอทายได้
So the claim in the internet world, TikTok and other places, that this is a giant. It was filmed in Thailand. And I'm not saying it's not a giant or it is a giant. Or what I would say is another shadowy figure, not very clear as usual, and there's some kind of apparition. There's this kind of it's just the real deal. If it's just physical, this is a real physical being, then imagine there should be a lot of signs of it being there, right? Trees being, ripped and imprints in the ground, things being moved around and all that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I don't think, I haven't heard anything of that. I don't see anybody verifying this as yet, as whether it's a true giant or not, or signs of a physical being or whatever. So I just posted it here because it's all part of this Fortean, this dystopic nightmare that we're all living under. And I know it sounds really negative me saying that, but it's very doubtful that it's actually what people think it is, what it is. You know what I mean? It seems like a giant, and I don't see any arms moving around. I don't see anything that indicated bipedal or four-limbed being type of thing. It just seems like a real shadowy, large apparition. I don't know. You tell me what it is. Heck if I know what it is, but it's part of this weird story called life. Okay, this is from Trinfinity and Beyond by Dr. Kathy J. Forte. What kind of doctor she is, I'm not quite sure. Metaphysics, maybe? I'm not sure. I shouldn't assume, but it says here, Unearthing Ancient Alien Artifacts in Mexico. This is published on February 7th, 2019. Written by her, the article. In late November 2018, I managed to walk my way into joining a small primitive team of alien artifact hunters who were headed back to the high desert of the Mexican state of Jalisco, if pronounced properly, near the town of Ojuelos, if that's pronounced properly. There were amassing a strange caches of artifacts, which included medallions, pipes, and small objects displaying strange inscriptions and drawings of ET beings and alien spacecraft. What made it even more fascinating was that at one site they had stumbled upon mysterious stone tablets depicting what appeared to be creation stories of an ancient extraterrestrial race. They were eager to go back and locate other stone tablets if they existed, which might unlock secrets about this race's beginnings and their history on Earth. I was definitely intrigued, and after handling some of the artifacts, were they fakes, reproductions, or the real thing? I felt oddly compelled to find out for myself. The no trail climb. The adventure turned out to be not only physically challenging, but even threatening at times. I was the only woman in a group of 7 males, which included some locals and only one person I knew. The climb to the dig area was grueling, especially at an elevation of 7,000 to 8,000 feet. We planned on camping overnight, so my backpack contained food, water, tent, sleeping bag, digging tools, extra clothing, as temperature can drop to 30 Fahrenheit at night. Carrying all this gear, we had to machete trail through dense razor-sharp cactus, mosquitoes flanking us on both sides. No, it's not a mosquito. Is that what it is? I don't know how you pronounce that. What is this? I'm not from there, so I have no idea. Mesquite wood. Let's see what it is. As a thorny tree or shrub, the native to the southwestern United States and Mexico. And it's part of the legume family and the mimosa family.
Mesquite.
Mesquite. So I got mosquito. So cactus and mesquite flanking us on both sides. It tore through jeans and leather gloves, and while the sun beat down unmercifully. Dousing the area, we brought along a young local man who knew the area well. He relied on dowsing instruments to locate hotspots of electromagnetic activity, which would prove to be a promising indicator of burial artifacts. While members of the team broke off to dig in several spots, I stuck with the dowser. Within the first half hour, he spotted a gnarled old tree. He stopped at a gnarled old tree where his pendulum was widely spinning in counterclockwise motion. We started digging. My skeptical side wondered if the locals came off here and secretly buried artifacts to foster a lucrative tourist business. When I saw what was involved in the unearthing process, I quickly discarded that suspicion. We hacked through deep tree roots that might have been there for hundreds of years. Under the roots, we encountered rock. My dowser guy used his pendulum again. he was still convinced there was something buried deeper. We dug up a slab of bedrock and went down another foot into the hard earth. In the corner of the gray stone tablet emerged. A call went out to the other team members who came running. We carefully extracted a 5 by 7 inch stone artifact which depicted a being at the controls of an odd-looking spaceship. We cleaned it and found drawings of other beings. On the flip side, there was a strange energy about the tablet. My cell phone dropped all service near it. My magnetic meter registered an elevated energy field. The question became who had buried it and why. 3 more stone tablets were unearthed on that dig. They were all different in shape. One rectangular, another trapezoid. One even had a groove notched in it. It appeared that they all fit together like some Chinese jigsaw puzzle. I wondered how many more of these tablets existed out there, which might be part of some large type of interlocking assembly. And for what purpose did these stones serve? Getting answers. The town of Ojulos. Let's see if we can find the pronunciation of this instead of assuming. Anybody that follows me knows this is what I do. How to pronounce? Could we get it in the first good shot?
Ojuelos. Ojuelos.
Ojuelos?
Ojuelos.
Ojuelos. Ojuelos. I said that completely wrong if that's how you pronounce it. Let's see if there's another way. Well, shit. Here we go. I'm sorry about this. Oh, come on, man. Don't make me go through all this. Oguels? Oguels? Oguels. Oguels. Squills. Oguels. Ah. And the plant is called
mesquite.
Mesquite. I'm from the Great Lakes region. We don't have mesquite. And sure enough, I thought it was mosquito. Anyways, the town of Oguels has some pretty funky energy, and not the kind that makes you feel good all over. Being an intuitive, I saw dark forces at work in the area and some spirit possession of individuals as well. At times, it was so strong I almost aborted the adventure, but decided to keep going. There was a story to tell here, and the artifacts and tablets were an important component. There definitely is a story to tell, that's for sure. The townspeople of Oguels, I'm sure I pronounced that right, claims they have been finding these strange alien artifacts for over 80 years. However, the Mexican government makes no claim to their authenticity and tends to look the other way. It's simply too controversial. But that hasn't stopped independent researchers from attempting scientific verification. I spoke with the lead figure in carbon dating the Oguels artifacts, Russian researcher Oleg E. Lestrostov took it upon himself at his own cost to bring some of the artifacts to the most preeminent radiocarbon testing facility in the country, the test labs at the University of Arizona. Stone is difficult to carbon date. That's impossible, actually. I don't think is it possible really? But 4 of the stone artifacts found by Lestrov had objects attached to them with a glue-like substance. This type of organic material can be carbon dated using 5 different tests. The University of Arizona lab results showed that the glue-like substance was at least 8,500 to 9,500 years old. They also ran tests on the ceramic clay artifacts and estimated that they were at least 3,500 years old. That's quite a difference. Some showed they were buried over 900 years ago, which might indicate that they are reproductions of older relics. But some of the gray stone tablets first found about 6 years ago in Ojolos are clearly thousands of years old. Researcher Klaus Dana also used the University of Arizona to validate the dating in relics he found in Ojolos. The dating was similar at around 8,000 years old. Ella Strostov also verifies that the stone tablets have a counterclockwise negative spin. He claims being around them has slowed down his aging process. Really? And then asked who and where he believes these artifacts may have come from, he has no clear answer other than possibly beings from the constellation Sirius. I don't know. Okay. The readers. I called a team of expert remote viewers and intuitives with a good track record to see if they could shed further light on the mystery. Individual readings showed a consensus that was not only staggering but fascinating. The beings connected to these artifacts and stone tablets come from the binary star Cygnus. I guess it's Deneb, D-E-N-E-B. The brightest star in Cygnus was the polar star going back 15,000 BC. However, this star was not discovered by astronomers until 1798. And the beings from Cygnus invaded the Earth, specifically the Atlantean outposts in Central and South America, and the aftermath chaos following the third and final upheaval of Atlantis, which resulted in a massive planetary flood. At that time, these beings, along with an influx of other various interdimensional species, saw an opportunity to take this planet. The Ojuldos, the Jalisco, and I'm sure I'm not saying any of that right. The area is one of the several large vortexes because of this alien race's advanced electromagnetic technologies. They entered these interdimensional portals and could easily come and go. The Mexico portals are intense due to the electromagnetic nature of the Ring of Fire. This is true for most of the coast of Mexico, leading down to South America. This may explain why so much UFO activity is reported there by military and commercial pilots. The symbols and writings found on the stones are a combination of language of the Cygnus beings as well as some Atlantean symbols. It's really interesting. You know, one of the things that does remind me of polymer clay. Clay polymers, and that you could recreate that, and it definitely, that's the feel it has. I'm not saying they didn't have something like that, 10,000 years ago, and that could be the case. I don't know, but I think you could reproduce that quite easily. And then, they have this stuff, calcite to marble, they use calcite to marble polymer clay. So I'm not saying I'm right. I don't know. I'm not touching these things. I mean, if they're stone or whatever they are, but fascinating regardless. The amount of, if it's a hoax, the amount of effort that people are putting into it in order to make a buck, what we experienced from 2020, actually 2019, about the time this stuff was dated, in the past 4 or 5 years, with the scamdemic, people are, that's one thing human beings are amazingly capable of doing, lying in mass. So, especially if self-preservation is involved. So, just saying. Will always be a guy who's asking questions, and always be a bit of a skeptic about things, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So, I'm hoping that this, I'm hoping, but I'm not hoping this is true, because if this is true, this talks about some very dark things about where we're at, who we are, what our ancestors have gone through. We know that this region, this area, the mass human sacrifice happened, and people might say that there's no way, but listen, it happens to this day. I don't know what you think war is about, what World War I and World War II is really about. If you think it was just about land grabs and power plays solely, or what happened in Iraq and Northern Africa and Afghanistan and what's going on now, if you think it's not simply a human, if you don't understand the powers that be and the occultic and esoteric nature of this world, and what the true wielders of power in this place, what they do, I mean, we have had ample history through all cultures that human sacrifice and mass, in a mass scale, is responsible for for these entities, these demigods, or the archons, the archonic forces that influence us. So it doesn't take very much to figure that one out. You just have to do some studying of history, and especially when it comes to war, and then a few other things, and you realize the purpose is much greater than land grabs. These are the rewards for the plutocracy, the monarchs, and the people that run this plantation. That's what they get, and help them to maintain power and affluence and influence. But that's not the big picture. The big picture is this soul trap matrix that we live in, this reincarnation soul trap matrix, is that human sacrifice is a big deal. And it will be done one way or the other. And it happens in multiple ways, unfortunately. And this has been going on for thousands of years. They want us to convince us that it's happened, in the distant past, but not today. But you know what? In my own lifetime, starting with the Vietnam War and on and on and on, and the millions of people have been brutally and savagely sacrificed. And you could say that they're all just in a way for greed and power and imperial quest, and that's a pretty simple way of looking at it. And a lot of people just stopped right there. But until you understand that they are interdimensional beings in this realm, that we non-physical, interdimensional, ultra-terrestrial beings. God knows how we want to label it. There's things that come and go. I film them, so and there's nothing special about me. I'm a moron, pretty much. If this moron can figure this stuff out, anybody can. So, anyways, back to this whole thing. So the Ring of Fire, right? And this is true to most of the coast of Mexico, leading down to South America. This may explain why there's so many UFO activities reported there by the military and commercial pilots. The symbols and writings found on the stones are a combination of language, the signets beings, as well as some Atlantean symbols. I'm not quite sure how you know what Atlantean symbols are. Although I guess, some people claim that they know, but the problem is, the mixed up messages. Just like these out-of-body experiences and near-death experiences, the mixed-up messages. If there's one thing these things are doing to us, is they're messing with us, with our psyche and our mind and our spirit. That seems very clear to me. These beings are draconian and reptilian in nature. They are not a race of giants, but smaller gray-like beings. And their leaders are tall, and as usual, right? It's always the tall dudes are the ones, right? Even though that doesn't necessarily mean they're the brightest, but I guess it doesn't matter. It's just how we're... Anyways, so they always are tall and are usually depicted wearing a fencing-like mask and something with like wings, like angels. Angels. All right. That's kind of a red flag. But anyways. The race inhabited Earth for about 1,000, 2,000 years, going back about to 2,000 to 14,000 years ago. And why if they are these really powerful beings, why only for a couple thousand years? It's just a question. They call themselves what sounds to us like Tikahankan. Tikahakan, if I pronounce it even close to being right. But their language is mostly composed of clicks, hisses, and is associated with the snake language. Well, there's the Brotherhood of the Snake that is pervasive throughout the world. This may be why the ancient pyramid of Teotihuacan, and I know I didn't say right, near Mexico City, is called what it is. The ancients claim they did not name it, but was named by those who came along before them. They claim the Teotihuacan. And if you know how to pronounce it, that's great. I mean, I could look and see. We'll see if we can look real fast. Maybe we'll get lucky this time. So there's the temple. Jeez, it's just an amazing amount of effort it must have been to build that damn thing. Which, you know, these priestcraft, all the death cults, they have these things.
Teotihuacan.
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 Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan. So that, I once again didn't say it across speed, right? Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan. Okay. Means place where men became gods. So where men became gods. Interesting. And that's, you can take that many different ways. Often, basically, that's what the priestcraft is all about. It's trying to make these men gods, right? These god men, and he's presenting themselves as gods to the slaves, the profane, right? The underlings, the laity. It's you find in all religions. So one example or another, at least. Often you will see depictions of this alien artifacts of a planet with 3 moons, which is a descriptive feature of their planetary system. Is an assumption. So, if that is really an alien spaceship right here, and they got this thing that's like cat being or spirit coming out, and then something else coming out of its mouth, and then, you know, how about if that's oxygen, water? Maybe it's water, bubbles. I'm just throwing it out there as a knee-jerk response. I don't know. I mean, it's not written there, the name of the planets, and that's a moon and stuff, so, and there's orbs, right? I mean, orbs and balls of light and these UFOs all seem to have the strong association with each other from my research, so I'm just throwing that out there. They came to Earth to procreate. They tried mating with humans, but were not successful. I don't see why they would even think, after these advanced type of species, to think that they could be successful procreate with a different species. Most of their babies died as infants and were born dead. Which, by the way, that seems to be a common theme, not a common theme, but there's stories about indigenous First Nation women who were kidnapped by Sasquatch and similar things like that happening. There are also the stories in Russia where it was successful. So I just can't imagine me as a Homo sapien male wanting to have sex with an alien or a Sasquatch. Now, maybe they can mess with us and override our critical thinking, but unless you know, I'm an old man now, so it doesn't really matter, but it was a young man, unless you were hot, and the chances are of me wanting to have intercourse with you were slim to none, so, and you had to be a woman, so. A Homo sapien. I just don't get it. But then again, you know, this world's a strange place. There's a lot of strange. I mean, hell, there's videos of people out there, males, having sex with donkeys. God knows. So, I mean, we've all done weird things in our lives, but you know, that's just getting, you know, way beyond the pale. Anyways, their artifacts describe their creation myth story. A number of artifacts can be seen expelling a small alien creature from their mouths. Now, this is assuming that they're aliens, not some kind of spirit or interdimensional being. I just don't like the term alien though that much, because it's just it assumes too much. While they tried performing hybrid experimentation over 1,000 years using all different types of methods, they were unsuccessful. Can you imagine the Homo sapien, the male or female, who had to have sex with these things? That is such a violation of. I mean, it's bad enough living in this fascistic control matrix, this system that we live under, this prison planet that we live in, and then to have these things think it's okay to just violate us like that. Like, jeez, where is God in all this? The reader saw that their race came from a hive soul of multiple entities, whereas humans are individual souls. Well, I thought okay. The messages get so they contradict themselves. Anyways, these beings could not animate their hive soul into a human angelic individual soul in a way which would make the human mating process successful. Human angelic soul? I haven't met too many angels in my life that were humans. Far from it. Anyways, the readers referred to it as louche energy. Which is a negative energy oftentimes depicted by a worm-like substance coming from the solar plexus area. Bob Monroe Institute. Did she give Monroe credit for that? Nope, she didn't. But it does give away a lot of where she's coming from. Many of the stones speak of their creation mythology. Some artifacts are actually very old replicas, not originals. Well, how do we know that? I mean, it's okay. So you make an alien out of a clay polymer, which is quite easily done. These clay polymers and these plastic polymers, you can make some amazing artwork out of it. Is that a replica of what? Especially if it's your original? So I'm not quite sure where's the replica from where. I hope she tells us. I hope she tells us where the replica is from and what's the replica of and how do we know. It's already feeling like a jerk, but I don't mean to be a jerk. I just want to know the truth. Old replicas are not originals. The scenes are from actual happenings that were known or talked about for many millennia throughout many of the South American cultures. Any way to verify that? What looks like medallions are actually grave markers that were buried along with their dead to identify them. Well, that makes sense. In fact, that makes a lot of sense, the grave marker thing, especially if mummification is such an expensive and time-consuming process, and you can't just... Here's the thing about, there's all these videos out there. Hold on a second. Hello? I gotta get some medication, so this is a reading that shouldn't have taken this long, but I guess I'm commentating. and living my life and trying to do this, and it's very unprofessional, but you know what? I don't get paid to do this, so. And I'm not trying to hoodwink you and making you think that I'm the expert. Just a dude. Just another dude. Another critter of the forest, basically. So, supposedly millennia... And I mean, I'm not saying any of this is not true. I just would like to have the evidence. It's just how religion gets away with the shenanigans that it gets away with pseudoscience gets away with scientism and politics and all the other belief systems and systems that govern us and enslave us. You know, it's like, give us the evidence, not the story. The story's worthless without the evidence. It pretty much is. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a jerk. It just pretty much is the case. That they just say, all right, don't believe me. I mean, that's the problem. You know, belief. Knowing versus belief. That's why my old channel was Old Religion Dystopia, Knowing versus Belief. And the reason why it's called Old Religion Dystopia is about what I'm reading right here, right now. Okay, where was I at in all this when I lost? Okay, so medallions actually are grave markers, so I find that's brilliant. That is brilliant. In fact, you know, it's so brilliant that that's like it. What might be the best idea I've heard. If you're gonna get buried, all right, what would be more? Because you know, you're even in a you know, eventually. Your bones and everything, even a casket, are gonna, you know, end up not being around, just turning to dust, and then be part of the earth again. But a grave marker like that, that's a brilliant idea. Fascinating. I'm serious. I never heard anybody else do that before. I don't know if the people are doing that today, but I think that's how I'd like to be buried. I would like to have a very special something made that symbolized who I was. Fantastic. Anyways. Now there's an industry right there. Somebody has any ambition, you know what I mean? Maybe when you get buried, you have a busk that's put in your lap or whatever, you know what I mean? And memorialized in some kind of stone, plasmic, or what do they call that? Polymer type of thing, right? Polymerization. Something to be like stone that would last. And then, of course, you want to put it in a group setting and then have it somehow marked for in the future. But the problem is, what we're learning here too is, if this is 10,000 years and it's buried feet under the soil and under roots and all that, and it probably did exactly what I'm saying. They had gravestones and, you know, temples of one thing or another, or you name it, and through time that all disappears, and another thing that may be left are these gravestones or grave markers, and with the hope that maybe someone in the future might discover it. And then what do you do with that? Because now look, if these things are authentic, where the fuck is our fucking museums for this stuff? I'm dead serious. Because if this thing is getting all hijacked by amateur archaeologists and just, you know, fortune hunters and grave robbers to make, you know, and everyone has this stuff in their homes, and God knows what that means. I mean, God knows what happens because of that, what spirits are unleashed because of that. But then the other thing is, then through time, how many things end up in the garbage, in the dump? Because that's what happens, right? If what means something to you, someone else will look at this and say, yeah, this is garbage, and just throw it in the garbage. And so it's almost like, if you're finding these places, it's a very sacred place, and there's a lot of these relics. It's almost like, do you really take them, or do you think of it as something? I mean, shouldn't we not value these things? Shouldn't we appreciate these things? Shouldn't we have museums for these things? I mean, I find it, a little bit irresponsible and disrespectful if these are legit. And this is the same shit that happened. It's like, I'm half Ojibwe, and I guess it is, well, my grandmother, my dad's side, was Ojibwe. My grandfather, he is part Cherokee. And then my mom is 100% Dutch, so I don't know if that makes me. That's not half Ojibwe. But I do know from, trying to just, genetically, I know why I am. And that, my niece ended up having this rare disease that only primary people that get it, glutaric acidoria type 1, are those with the Ojibwe blood in them. So, in fact, she's the reason why she ended up getting that. She's been paralyzed from her head down because of that, they say, and so all infants born in the state of Ohio because of her are tested for it. So because you've tested in time, they put you on a special diet because you can't eat protein like other people, and they can still live and not be paralyzed for 18 years like my niece was. Which is another one of those, I spent years taking care of her myself. And bitter about that one, too. Where was God in all that, you know what I mean? Anyway, so these grave markers, I love this idea. Anyways, the dead, to identify them, and it told their story in their own language of where they came from and who they were and what happened to them. I hope. Many were placed in beds and sarcophagi of their dead infants. What? The readers agree that these beings were eventually banished by the Intergalactic Planetary Federation because their race, as well as a few other alien species, were interfering with human race agenda through mating experimentation. The readers emphasize that Earth is a planet of free choice. That's horseshit. That's the absolute biggest pile of horseshit. Free choice. If you agreed to mate with such beings, it was acceptable, but with these beings, consent was not always the case. Free choice. Well, if it was supposed to be, that was a big failure. An absolute big failure when it comes to a free choice. And as much as you want to believe there's free choice, you didn't have a choice. Your parents or where you were born, and they'll try to tell you that you chose prior to this, and maybe some kind of counsel or on the other side, you agreed to come here, right? But you agreed on a false pretexts and premises, and you were deceived to come here, just like I was and everyone else. And if they would have told you the truth about the pain and suffering and the misery that you're going through, and about the billions of other people prior to you and the billions around you that are going through worse things than you're going through now, would you really agree to any of this madness? And if you did, what the heck's wrong with you for agreeing? I know one thing. I was deceived to come here. And when I get back to the other side, there's a lot of explaining. And if I see Jesus, I'm going to brush that aside. If I see Allah, I'm going to brush that aside. If I see these aliens, I'm going to brush that aside. And if I see whatever I see until I get to the truth, and they're going to ask, truth, if you're capable of even being it, it's time to tell it. I do not want to be part of this creation. I don't like the lies, and I don't like the deceptions. I don't like all the confusion and the pain and suffering. I find it repulsive, and I find it pure evil. That's what's evil. Now, they'll try to tell you that it's evil for you to fall in love with some chick and make love to her. See, if you would have done that and you got married under, the Catholic system of marriage, none of that would have happened. Of course, that's the furthest thing from the truth, because whether you're married in a Christian marriage or whatever marriage or not, guess what happens? You have even a greater odds of freaking having divorce than people who would have just did it on their own. State, well, if it's so sacred, why did the state hijacked it and make you have to be licensed like a fucking dog? No, there's very little free choice in this world. There's just the wishful delusion that you have it. You have very limited choice. You have very limited choices. It's not a planet of free will. It's what they want you to believe. Anyways, Cygnus beings attempted to come back to Earth again in the 15 and 1600s during the Middle Ages, but were again banished. Much of their myths have been blended into the Aztec and Mayan cultures. Relatives of the first Cygnus group came back at the end of the 19th century, 1800s. When somehow the portal became reactivated. They are still here today. Well, there's a lot of things going on. And I really do believe that all these endless wars that have been going on for hundreds of years are what helped open up these portals. Human blood sacrifices. Blood was needed. If you see throughout all cultures, including Christianity, blood, it's all about the blood. It's the spilling of the blood that activates these things and makes these things extremely happy. And for the spilling of the blood will give you some technology. You can spill more blood, and we'll show you some craft, and we might even teach you how to, go from one point A to point B like the rest of us. Yippee skippy, you know what I mean? But these empty promises, they're just that, empty promises, and it's a history of empty promises. But so I see in these drawings and these etchings and these, what I see is dark shamanism. This is the death and dark magic. This is black magic. That's what I see. I don't know why people can't see that with these ziggurats and these temples. And I mean, if you go through this alien carvings website and watch some of those videos, you see these knives, these knives for sacrifice, and one side is the image of a human getting the head cut off. The other side, it's an alien ship. That's what's going on. I don't understand why they can't see that. I saw it right away. Is it denial? What is going on here? And then we see these people, and it's just clear, that like orbs and all these headdresses and these shamanic rituals and the priestcraft and rites and rituals. I think this is honestly, honestly, the most probable thing that happened is these priests, and then they have their soldiers, if you will. I mean, they're because it's all gang warfare is what it is, right? And so they have their minions go and hijack a bunch of kidnap hot chicks, and then they rape them. It's part of the process. Sodomize them, rape them, do all sorts of terrible things to them. Shed blood, they bathe in the blood. I mean, it's history is repeat of it. You just have to look, and it's sickening, and there's something to it. But what they have is what in reality, what they're under the illusion that they've gained some great power. But all they've done is guaranteed they're coming back here over and over and over again. And some people like it. Some people think this place is fantastic. They love the suffering and the misery and causing it, and taking a dump every day and having to take a piss 6 times a day, and you know what I mean, and go through all the madness that you have to go through and psychological. It's just fantastic. And the 5,000 different genetic flaws, and it's just a great thing, isn't it? Amazing stuff. So, when you realize, this place is about hardship and suffering and pain. And you're here for a very short time, right? And so people make a choice. And they'll see, I can be part of the priestcraft. I can be part of the royalty, the elite. And I can do the drugs and have the sex and have the power and not have to work in the fields. And I can just, be be in control, right? There's a lot of control freaks out there. There's immense. Average person wants to control the shit out of you. It's ridiculous, right? It's so tragic. And so, you have a choice, be part of the priestcraft or be one of the slaves. What do you want to do, buddy? Now, if you're one of us, you're part of our gang, you get all the perks. There's the perks. You get the women you want. You get the drugs you want. You get the seed, the aliens and the spaceships and the visions. And you get to hang out and luxury and don't have to worry about doing all the menial work. You know what I mean? You don't have to farm the maize, the corn, or whatever, right? You don't worry about it. You just hang out with us and live in luxury. The only thing is a couple things you got to do. You got to be bloodthirsty and nasty. You got to know the rites and rituals, and you're going to have no problem in taking life, somebody else's life, if it's called upon. It sounds an awful lot like The Godfather. It sounds like gang warfare, doesn't it? Because the mafia and organized crime syndicates and religion go hand in hand, along with banking. It's all the same thing as sorcery, folks. It's just packaged a different way. But it's still the same thing. They're controlling you and your life essence and your source. And that's what it's all about. From cradle to grave. It seems a little more merciful in our system, right? Maybe, maybe not. Where's the comparison? And what they did systematically is they made sure that in this realm that all the old ways were eradicated. And when we went from one place to the other, or I should say, not we, the Europeans, and our ancestors. And by the way, they're not different. It was happening in Central South America. They were doing it as well. We just gunpowder, and with all the human sacrifice, we ended up getting better gadgets to take out people through poisoning the well, literally and figuratively, and with gunpowder and except stuff like that, right? We were able to just wipe out people, whole cultures. And this will recycle and go over and over again, and it's just like a big burp. It's like a big zit. And that zit is uniform zit. Eventually will pop, and all the pus will fly over the place. And, a new patch of different cults will be formulated in different parts of the region. But it's all the same thing over and over again. guess I was supposed to be reading this, right? I mean, I'm sorry if it just sounds really negative, but I'm not being negative. I'm being brutally honest about what's going on. And he said, well, that's your take. And I said, well, yeah, my take's based on observation. Real observation, what's really happening. Not what, some entities decided to tell me, some psychic message, some mind speak, and here, automatic writing or this or that, and write it all down. And because I'm telling you, it's when you start combining these messages, and everyone says they're the adepts, they're the right ones, right? They're the ones that qualify. They're the ones that really got it going on, right? But when you really lay it all out and compare everyone's different messages, it's pretty much the same thing. Everyone's being deceived. Cygnus. I mean, we don't know that. We don't know that at all. There's no way to prove any of that. Readers agree that these Cygnus beings are not friendly nor spiritually evolved. Are we? Really? I mean, people talk that way. They talk a good talk, but are you really? I mean, have you ever watched what it's like hanging out with New Agers? You want to see extreme fascism? There it is. And extremely orderly, too. I mean, they're even more orderly than Christians or Catholics. I mean, it is so controlling and manipulating. And, oh, my God. And all it is people barfing out BS. And I know it sounds harsh, but they're not telling. They can't verify anything they're saying. And they're just regurgitating cliches and things that they learned from other people, and then they pretend that that's the truth, but they can't verify any of it. One thing is, these things that look like UFOs, mechanical contraptions, and I'm not saying they're not a mechanical contraption of some sort or another, but have been seen forever and a day. And orbs. Flip it up, put it on the side, it looks just like a damn orb, a ball of light. And then how many times have we seen orbs popping out of these, or big balls popping out of these UFOs? Okay, looking at the future timeline, it shows that in the 26th century, their interaction with Earth will become such a big problem, it will have to be dealt with. It appears that these beings are here to solve or correct something in their own future timeline that results in the destruction of their planet. So far, they have not been successful in accomplishing this, but are still trying. The stone tablets our group found are the ones placed with the original Cygnus crew members. Okay. Which are buried much deeper down, according to the readers. There are more yet to be found. These driver stones, because it only quotes driver stones, were all buried in separate places for a very good reason. They can communicate with each other. Really? They should never be reassembled. Really? Okay. Remote viewing shows that they can affect a rippling electromagnetic hologram to form which can be open and from which can open an existing portal, amplifying it and allowing more beings and ships to come through. And it is no surprise that dark forces are being manipulated to bring these original stone tablets together again. I saw them at work down there, and I felt it felt threatening. It was highly advised to bury, freeze, and destroy the tablets so they never be reactivated. The remote viewers assembled on this project wanted to remind those who will listen that there is a very good reason why the once green and fertile land mass of the Antarctica is now allowed to freeze over. Buried alien technology can be found there as well. I've heard of that. I don't know if there's truth to any of that, but I've heard that. There's a lot. Okay. Buried alien technology can be found there as well. Unfortunately, some of it is already being accidentally reactivated through multi-government exploration. Government, all right. Is it government, is it? Well, I do believe there are good interdimensional beings out there, which I can personally vouch for. Not all ETs have good intentions. Some ET enthusiasts have espoused so much of Earth's early history has been lost. We are only now beginning to get a glimmer of the hidden truth. It is quite a story that is slowly emerging. I am quite certain we haven't heard the last of this fascinating tale. EU and US copyright 2019 article reprint by permission only with full source attribution. Subscribe to Trinfini and Beyond blog. Dr. Kathy Forte is a clinical psychologist. Okay, that's what we found out. We should have read to the bottom before I started reading this. So she's a clinical psychologist, inventor of the Trinfini 8 and Ascension 11 technology, and author of Fractals of God, a psychologist's near-death experience, and the journey into the mystical. So there you go. And it definitely is what looks like what we traditionally call flying saucers. Look at that. That's some bizarre looking shit. What the hell are we dealing with? What the hell are we dealing with? And then the beginning of this recording is this alleged giant they've filmed somewhere in Thailand, supposedly. A very shadowy being that's twice the size of the trees and the mountains there, at least twice the size. And being that if it was actually physical flesh and blood, there should be signs and destruction of trees, footprints, something being moved around if it was physical, or is it just another apparition? Something, another show, if you will, for the people. I don't know. It's up to you. I'm not saying that's true or not. Just put that in there as well. So post this and go from there. Thank you for listening to my mumbling, my stumblings.